I recently had the opportunity to watch Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. I thought at first that the show had gotten too much flack. The finale was breathtaking, the animation beautiful, the fight scenes stunning, the characters were funny, and the dragon wasn't nearly as annoying as I had been led to believe. I thought it was a very good movie until the end came, and I realized that the finale, which should have been breathtaking on paper, and even for a moment had me stunned with just how bold it was in its message, lacked any sort of impact. I wasn't feeling what I should be feeling. I wasn't feeling anything other than what was being shown to me on screen, which was a powerful scene, but why wasn't I feeling anything deeper? Was it because perhaps that I'm an adult now and children's shows are not meant to be taken as seriously by adults? No, because I was watching it with my young cousins who range from ages 6 to 12, and they too were distracted during the finale. They thought the visuals were cool, but they were all yelling out, calling out plot holes and things that distracted them from the film. And I was forced to think, perhaps the issue isn't with me, but with the story itself. The answer I found by going through the movie in my head was a lack of structural integrity. The world building was flawed. And if your world building is flawed, your story, which takes place within your world, is going to be flawed as well. Rules that are established early on are broken without comment. Certain things happen that seem illogical that characters accept as real without comment. Things happen in the show and things are said in the show that are said without any basis in what we've been shown on screen. Why is this? Well, looking back, I compiled a list of several of my grievances with the show, things that I thought took an excellent story and dragged it down to just being subpar. And I plan to show you that not only is Raya and the Last Dragon a good story dragged down through petty mistakes, but even a harmful story for those seeking to study story and enjoy stories shown on the screen. But number one on this list of grievances is the Droon. The Droon come out of nowhere, and this is something that fits in with the themes of the movie. They were something that has been simmering beneath society for years. They're the embodiment of hate and mistrust in humanity, something that seems very present in this world and is very relevant to our daily life. It is shown that when you're touched by the Droon, you turn to stone and take on a praying position, as if you are giving up your soul in order to be enveloped by hateful and mistrusting emotions. But in the finale, whenever some of our main characters are struck by the Droon, they don't assume this praying position. It's a sloppy moment that never gets any explanation. Every other time a character is struck by one of the Droon, they are shown moving from whatever the position they are in to assume this symbolic position of giving up the soul. Yet in our finale, the little boy, the warrior, and the baby are all shown freezing in whatever position they were in. They're the only characters shown to do this. This is never shown again and never addressed, and I couldn't help but be dragged out of the finale partially because of this. The second thing that bothered me very early on was the use of the gem shards. The gem is shattered very early on in the movie, and we see that the Desert Kingdom took their gem and hid it behind a bunch of traps. Like, the Droon are on the loose by the point that the Desert Kingdom would have been hiding their gem. They are out there killing their people, and instead of using it to protect their people, perhaps putting it on a weapon, perhaps using it as a beacon of hope, they take the time to build traps and hide it in a temple and then abandon it, just leave and don't try to live there and protect themselves. Like, I understand y'all don't have water, so y'all should have been clinging to that gem as a bastion of hope. Could this have tied in with the show's themes of humanity's inherent desire to be selfish? Yes, but it's never addressed in the narrative, so this is a point that will go unearned for the show. If this was intentional on the writer's part, it should have been made clear to the audience. They use a lot of narration in this show. There are a lot of things that could have been told subtly that they don't. So it's odd if this was an intentional writing choice on the show creator's part that this was left unspecified. No one brings it up. No one talks about it. It took me out of the narrative when it happened, and I found it very distracting even later on in the story when I saw how the gems were used in other countries. Third, the dragons / the origin of the gemstone. This bothered me a lot. When we are shown the origin of the gemstone, the dragons that created it gave up their lives to create this gemstone. Each one of them gave their powers into the gem and were consumed by the Droon. I had issue with this though, because it's explicitly showed that two of them have water-based powers. The older brother can summon the rain, and one of the younger sisters, I believe, could breathe mist, both of which are water-based abilities. Now, it's never explicitly said that these things repel the Droon. However, it is explicitly shown that dragons can walk through the rain, practically flying, creating stepping stones out of rain. If the brother could summon rain, why didn't they just all go up 10,000 feet, make the gym? Nobody had to be consumed by the Droon. Could this be because the gym perhaps consumed all of their magical abilities and they were left helpless? Maybe, but they also could have just gone on a boat and gone into the middle of the river. The main dragon says that she has a very powerful backstroke. She's a very good swimmer. There's absolutely no reason this couldn't have taken place in the water. There was no reason for them to be consumed. It seemed like a sloppy writing choice that again took me out of what could have been a very powerful moment of sacrifice. No reasons are given. They could have been surrounded, cut off from the water. Perhaps they didn't even have a chance to get to the water. Maybe they were trying. We aren't told, and therefore no points are awarded for coincidence to this movie. My fourth issue is the characters. Now, I am a sucker for bands of heroes coming together, setting aside their differences to protect the world. I love this. I love the Avengers. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it's apparent that this show does too. They want to have the sneaky one in the case of the baby, the charismatic one in the case of the boy, the tank in the case of the warrior, and the main character in the role of Raya. But these characters feel like they flicker back and forth between being two-dimensional and three-dimensional characters. Why are they this way? It's very strange. When we first meet the boy, he's living alone on his boat, and he seems to be a very active and lively character, very three-dimensional. And when we're introduced to the baby, again, a kind of silly character who's very three-dimensional. I was very willing to suspend my disbelief that these children survived in a world supposedly broken by human selfishness. But then we get to the warrior, and I began to see the holes in the narrative once more. The warrior lives in a village where his people supposedly all died battling the Droon. Great origin story, but makes no sense. The Droon had to be within your walls because all of the dead folks are within your walls in the praying position. So how did you survive? Did you use your gem to survive? Perhaps did you put your gem in your axe and battle your way through the Droon? How exactly did your people plan on fighting something that has no physical form? Was it a sacrifice? A distraction? We don't know. We are not told. And again, no points are awarded to a movie on coincidence. This movie loves to tell us the backstory of our characters, so why did it neglect to tell us the backstory of a character who's honestly in the movie a lot after he's introduced? He's on screen, he's not a side character, he's brought into our main cast, shown to be important by the story. So why didn't he get the same amount of attention the other characters did? With the warrior character, they even make jokes narratively. He jokes that, oh, you thought of me as the savage, but I'm the only one who thought to check what the baby's name was. But no one thinks of him as the savage from what we've seen. No one said that. He's done nothing with the main characters to have earned a joke about everyone thinks of me this way, but I'm actually another way. We don't even know who this guy is. We don't know if he can cook, if he likes killing, if he's ever actually killed anyone. For all we know, he's a pacifist and a coward. That's why he ran away. The boy makes a joke about how he's awesome. He's gonna fight his way through the ranks of the bad guys. But we've never seen this character fight. We've seen Raya fight an awful lot. Perhaps the movie could have shown him fighting Raya, perhaps fighting the Droon, putting the gem on his axe, fighting the Droon, maybe defending them in some way. No, all we see is that he captures Raya in a net and pretends that he's going to do something unspeakable to her, but can't really think of what it is. So he's a dumb character, but not a dangerous one like the movie pretends he is. And the rest of the cast does seem fun, but the movie makes a grand mistake in its third act. Raya and the dragon leave our two main characters, main character number 1 and Awkwafina, who's main character number 2. They leave behind the main cast, and I immediately thought, oh, this is a great opportunity for us to meet the rest of the cast, to show that they exist when the main character isn't around them, that they have their own lives, their own things that they like to do that aren't just brought up in order to inform us or the main character. This would be a great chance to see them interact. Avatar: The Last Airbender does this really well. But instead, all of that potential is cashed in for a joke about, well, what are we gonna do? I don't know, nothing, I guess. When a character has nothing to do, when your main character isn't on screen, that's a flat character. That's not a three-dimensional character. I talked about this in Invincible episode 3, my review / examination of that of that episode's writing techniques. And Invincible takes its time showing us our characters simply living in their world. And even though Raya is a story about a post-apocalyptic crumbling world, people still have lives, even in disasters. They're fairly safe at the moment. We could show them all cooking together. We could show them having fun, swapping jokes, maybe even get a little bit of backstory on some of them. But instead, it's cashed in for a cheap joke, and we zip right over to follow the main characters as they pursue the plot. It's obvious this movie loved Avatar: The Last Airbender. Its creators took a lot of inspiration from it. Every episode of Avatar begins with the four nations live together in harmony, and everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. That is kind of the vibe Raya was going for. All the parts of the dragon lived together in harmony until one day they all attacked Heart. They wanted to be a fun and goofy world with mutant and magic animals, a foreign, very non-American culture, and powerful themes that talk about the dark parts of humanity. But the movie failed in this. It didn't take the time to flesh out its world, and the story suffered because of it. They became so focused on the plot, the main character, and the story they wanted to tell that they neglected to actually do the work of building the world in which the story is supposed to take place, and the story just suffers. Disney has honestly done this a lot lately, and it's very sad to see this drop in quality from the studio. The story is so lazy, in fact, that it seems sometimes to turn its themes on and off. Certain things that it introduced, rules that the world goes by, they just seem to flick them on and off like a light switch anytime they please in order to get a funny scene or a cool character moment. For example, your themes of humanity's inherent selfishness, throw it out the window when the heroes are trying to rescue the world from the Droon after all the water's disappeared. Those people should have been mobbing those with the dragon gem pieces, all trying to save themselves. Instead of that, they all just become background characters that cease to exist when our heroic main characters come in to save them. Did they have any motivation to survive this invasion? Probably not. They're just there to be saved and show how great our characters are. Oh, does Raya have trust issues? Not when meeting every member of the main cast for the first time. She hops on the boy's boat without a second thought until later to mistrust him. A man who captured her and threatened to do unspeakable evil to her. I'm gonna leave you with all these people I've come to trust. You're sure you can come along with the main cast. I trust you with everything. A world with diverse nations in the same style as Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sum them all up as either angry assassins or con artists. Oh, you're going to address those prejudices at the opening of your movie? I'll sure be happy to see when people go to these nations how many people don't fit in those tropes that you described. Oh, none of them? It's just a world of hats out there for each kingdom? That's very sad. Even having a world with a rich history and an inherently non-American culture, they just throw it away with Awkwafina when she shows up in her dragon form. She's a character who has existed in this world for a long time, is one of the spiritual figures in this world that represents all the good things in this culture. So what does she say most of the time when she's on screen? It's all American pop culture references for the entire movie. In this culture that's trying so hard to be unique and non-American like Avatar: Last Airbender, why did you have this almost divine spiritual leader in this world just only make American pop culture references instead of trying to dive deeper into the world and show how connected the dragons are to this world's culture? But that's not to say that there's nothing good about this movie. I think this movie honestly got a little too much flack despite how much ranting I did about it earlier. This movie had a wonderful finale that was extremely subversive and powerful. Breathtaking fight scenes. I think Raya was a very well thought out character, and I love the way that she and the main villain of this world, the girl who betrayed her in the beginning, I love the way they interact. I love how Raya steps forth and embodies the theme of the movie by extending that first hand of trust and dying and turning to stone. But the show reminds me of a quilt that's made of the highest quality fabrics. Its designer had a great image in mind when it was creating it, but it's covered in little holes and flaws that let the heat escape. It simply does not have the integrity to be a good story. It can't contain all the goodwill we as an audience want to give it. It was a creative concept, but it's almost harmful in its execution. It tries to be subversive, but ends up being subpar. How does that reflect upon this movie's attempts to break a lot of the tropes that plague modern movies? It has a powerful female lead and antagonist who's relatable. It has a powerful story about humanity's selfishness and how in order to hold the world together, we all have to trust. But these themes suffer because the movie itself wasn't given enough care when crafting the story. With just a little more thought on how to keep the promises it made to its audience throughout the movie, with just a smidge more effort on the parts of the show writers, this show could have been groundbreaking. It could have been excellent, but it ends up falling flat. It's sad that Disney, a studio once known for crafting quality stories that touch the heart, is now reduced to shipping out half-baked stories with beautiful animation and no integrity to go behind it. But thank you for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified next time I upload. I'm trying to upload every Sunday, and I'd like to keep that fairly consistent. Leave a like and go down to the comments below and let me know if you think I was too harsh on Raya. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy this movie because there's a lot to enjoy in it, a lot to discuss and celebrate, and I'll be happy to engage with you below. Please share the video if you want word about this to get out, or if you agree or disagree with anything I've said. I'd love to discuss more with you and promote more discussion on how we can create quality stories. But thank you for watching again, and I hope to see you in the next video.